Greetings from Middelburg in the Eastern Cape. Today I should like to start with a quote from C.S. Lewis. In 1942 he wrote a dialogue between Satan and Christ, and I should like to take an extract from that dialogue. Satan proclaims, "I will cause anxiety, fear and panic. I will shut down business, schools and places of worship, and even sports events. I will cause economic turmoil." To that Jesus replies, "And I will bring together neighborhoods, restore the family unit. I will bring dinner back to the kitchen table. I will help people slow down their lives, that they may appreciate once again what really matters. I will teach my children to rely on me and not the world. I will teach my children to trust me and not their money or material resources." We have often heard there is nothing new in this world of ours, and how true that is. What C.S. Lewis wrote in 1942 is pretty appropriate for us today, even into the distant past. But how does that affect us? Well, let's take a little trip into the Old Testament, and we see how Moses is struggling to get the Israelites to leave the Egyptian regime. Even though they suffered many plagues, Pharaoh just didn't want to let go. And God told Moses, "Tell Egypt that this night the firstborn will be taken from both man and beast. Yet tell the Israelites that if they painted the lintels of their doors with the blood of an unblemished lamb, the angel of death will pass them by." And sure enough, the next morning the Israelites had no loss. We come back to our own world at this time, and we ask ourselves, what is there that we can learn from that story? If we look at our world, we can see that we too are plagued by a number of incidents over the past years. Just think of the floods, the terrible fires the country suffered, here and abroad. Think of the earthquakes. Think of volcanic explosions, of the aeroplane accidents, of wars, of people lost in mudslides, of floods and drought, economic loss, fraud, and that the Parliament has passed decisions that sex can be had by 12-year-olds, that they can have abortions without the consent or knowledge of their parents, that human rights is the order of the day, never mind the responsibilities that go along. And now we have COVID-19. In 24 hours from yesterday, there was an increase of 58,000 incidents. And this may well cause concern and some panic. And yet, amidst all of that, there is the joy of people praying. They come together as groups, not in physical come together, but setting times and finding the space to pray together at that time. We've heard of Pope Francis praying before the crucifix, and in that very night, something like 1,400 persons suffering from the virus were healed. There are many deaths, there are many recoveries, so prayer certainly helps. But I need to say tonight, prayer is not enough. Prayer is really not enough. What we need to do is to hear what God has to say for us. And what is God asking of us? Simple. That we line the lintels of our soul with the precious blood of his sacrifice. What does that mean? We have the story of God and his favorite pond with reeds, and how this one reed, after some consideration, yes, gave God the permission to remove all of her that makes up her heart, her soul, her mindsets, her attitudes, everything. so that empty she may be filled with what God is. And in all her life she had never experienced such deep joy and exhilaration as when she felt God's love flow through her. And not only that, that was a blessing to her personally, but in her sacrifice she enabled God to bring healing to that field down in the valley who had died and is now being restored to full health, plants, trees, butterflies, and people loving each other. So again, we have to ask ourselves, is God saying something in the story to us? Yes, God is. Christ is asking us to live his sacrifice. And this means that I give up, that I sacrifice me, mine, and I, and hold up to God in a heart of love my very heart, my will, my soul, my spirit, my whole being, so that he can fill us with himself. And you know, we ask God for so much. And what do we give in return? What little sacrifices or what big sacrifices are we making to help the world heal? And it doesn't take a lot. A smile here and there, being patient with the children who may drive us up the wall, to wash the dishes that are just seeming to mount and never ends, to give comfort to those who may feel depressed. These are small things we can do, and the big things where we are suffering through illness or whatever the case may be, we can offer that too and unite it to that of Christ so that it becomes salvific. My petition is that this time of the lockdown, we pray, yes we do, and we ask for what we need. But maybe we can also pray, make me a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, your pardon. And where there is doubt, true faith in you. We know it's St. Francis's prayer, and maybe we can take some time to reflect on that prayer and see how it can guide our life into fullness. God's deepest longing is to be intrinsically united to us. He longs to be in relationship with us. He longs deeply to spill over us, to blanket us, to enwrap us with all his grace and blessings. But he can't give it unless we make ourselves available to Christ. And maybe there, when we are in relationship with him, we can ask him to heal us of all our wounds, past and present, and especially heal the wounds of our broken relationship with God, our family, and those around us, and especially those whom we don't like. And in that relationship, we will begin to learn the real sacrifice of Christ. For he bore upon himself, he took into himself, this holy, innocent, pure God, took into himself our guilt, our sin, our darkness, our violence. All of that he absorbed and held it to himself until his last breath. So let us join Christ in this walk to freedom, because this is what Christ offers us, that with him, with our own sacrifice, united with that of Christ, we bring healing to the world. May the blessings of God embrace you. Until the next time, God bless.